You guys, two quads that we picked up the other day. A 2003, I believe, KFX400. Literally know nothing about it. Forest growing on our carrier back here. Like the middle was under a tarp almost, and the front and the back weren't under a tarp. There's Scrambler 500 4x4 clap box. Someone painted these plastics black, as we can see. These red wheels are pretty dang ugly. Didn't even paint the back of them. Like, how piss poor is that? Oh, I think our motor's frozen. Eventually drove the asking price up quite a bit, so I paid $900 for the two of them, $450 a piece. What's up, guys? So, thought I wasn't gonna do an update for a while, but we're gonna need an update, I guess, because we got so much going on. I made a video on this thing, on this KFX400 here that we got probably a few weeks ago now. Just power washing it, and what else did I do? I cleaned out under the seat a little bit, see if it turned over. So it did turn over. As you can see, our power wash didn't get everything out really. This quad was sitting outside for a long time. Does turn over with a jump. We put a excuse me, put a new battery in there, or a battery that we had laying around off another quad, and it does turn over, which is great news. Even though our wires are actually like, you can see a mice was tearing at them or doing something with them, and there was a fat thing of mice shit under the seat here where the battery is. So it's honestly great news that it turns over. Also, for more updates, guys, don't neglect yourselves. Go for a run once in a while. I just ran for the first time in like I don't know, 6 months, and I'm dying. So anyways, the DRZ125, we were able to get the rear wheel off. That was a huge pain. Our KFX here, we're waiting on the petcock for this thing. We ordered up our rear axle for the this thing as well. Clutch cable on the way for that bike. Got a new exhaust spring on the way for this, and new graphics. That's why I haven't put those side panels on yet. But anyways, I want to get into this KFX400 a little bit deeper today. As you know, we got this quad for $900 along with a Polaris Scrambler 400 4x4, so kind of like $450 if you want to say it that way. We got this thing for $450. Now, pretty rusty, pretty crusty in here. Today I want to get down to our spark plug. Maybe we can get this thing to fire up if we pour a little bit of gas in our cylinder, in our spark plug hole, whatever. Make sure this thing has spark also. And obviously we're probably gonna have to charge our battery to do that, so I'm gonna hook up the battery right now. I'm gonna go grab the key in the house, and we're gonna start pulling this this front off. I'm not sure if the whole panel has to come off or what. I never worked on one of these things, so should be interesting. Alrighty guys, so update time. We got the quad torn down a little bit. Just got the seat off, the gas tank off, and here we are. So it's obviously pretty filthy in here. Let me get my light out. Flashlight. As you can see, that's what our spark plug hole looks like. Looks like water's just been sitting in there. But I turned it over and it does have spark. So that's awesome. It actually looks like pretty good spark too. So awesome news on that front. I did notice some dirt in this gas tank here, and there's absolutely no gas in it at all. Yeah, I would need a better light to show you guys, but I did see some dirt in there built up. And I'm sure this carburetor has some sort of problems. It just looks all crusted out, so I'm sure that's gonna need to come off, because look at our throttle here. Maybe we have a broken throttle cable. Not really sure. I'm gonna try to clean out this spark plug hole a little bit, and then I think I'm gonna throw a compression tester on it, see what kind of reading we get. If I have a fitting that fits down in there, I'm not really sure. That's where we're at though. We have spark, so this is going super well so far. The thing turns over, and it's got spark. Those are two very important components. Now we just test for compression. I think it does have compression. I can just, you can kind of hear it in the exhaust when you turn it over. Let's see if we have a compression fitting for this bad boy. Alrighty guys, so we got our compression fitting down in there. It's kind of hard to tell if it's in there properly. I think it is. Set to 0. We're going to see how much compression this baby's got. This is the last step we need for this thing to run. Hoping for like, I'm going to guess right now. I'm going to say 140, okay? That's my guess, lock it in. I would say this thing probably needs like 120 to run or so, maybe a little bit less than that, give or take. Oh, well that ain't good. Could be something to do with our fitting, but that says 60 psi. And also I'm unable to hit the gas because this thing's clapped, so it might be a little bit lower than it actually is. But 60 is not good. Let me check this thing, make sure everything's good. Alright guys, so this is my 3rd time testing it, and again I got less than 60 psi. So we either have top end problems with this thing, and it didn't run when it was parked last, like the guy said in the ad, because that would, you know, I don't think she's running with 60 psi. Either that, or my compression tester is wrong, or the fitting isn't sitting in there properly or something. I still want to get a new plug, which my dad's going to do right now, and see if this thing will fire up with some gas in the cylinder. Also, those rings could be stuck in there or something. We could have something going on in the top end. You know, this stuff happens when this crap sits for who knows how long. A year, supposedly. Definitely more than a year. But anyways, I'm going to charge up this battery. We're going to keep trying on this thing. We're not giving up on this girl yet. Also, one more thought, just as I'm kind of pondering here. I did have a 4-stroke a while back. It was an XR200, and the valves were incorrect. I think the exhaust valve was too tight or something, making it have a low compression rating. I remember I was getting like 70 out of that thing, and as soon as I loosened up that exhaust valve, way higher of a compression rating. So maybe that has something to do with it. Like I said, we're not going to give up on this thing just yet. I feel like that guy was honest and he wasn't just saying that this thing ran when it was parked. But maybe I'm naive. Alright guys, so I got our gas tank off. And we do have gas flow through our petcock, but I'm unable to turn the petcock. So there's probably something in there. But gas is still getting through at least. Alrighty guys, so I've been digging a little deeper. I want to get into this carburetor. So I took it off here. I cleaned the whole thing down a little bit better. Dad got a new spark plug. I put gas in there, and it would kind of fire, not very well. I think my dad was saying the same thing. We think it needs we need that throttle working so we can allow more air into the engine. I tried adjusting it up here, but it's just seized down up in here. This carburetor's rough, as I expected. Check that out. I haven't opened it up yet, so I'm interested to see how bad the inside is. I'm sure it's probably terrible, to be honest. But you can see the throttle line right there is actually fraying too. So let's see if I can get a good view for you guys as we move this throttle. So you can see that's where the wire frayed out. This is our throttle assembly in here, and our float bowl. So we'll see how bad our jets are, how bad this throttle is. I think the throttle is the most important thing right now, because I can always put gas into the cylinder, and if we just had a working throttle, we could let some more air into the engine. Maybe it would fire up a little bit better for us. Also, we could get a more accurate compression rating, because as you guys know, you're supposed to hold the throttle wide open when you're doing a compression test. So it's hard to do that when your throttle doesn't work. So I'm going to dig into this thing, and I think I'm going to go into our throttle first and see how bad that is. Alrighty guys, I took these bolts out, or these screws. Let's see what we got in here. Huh. So this whole assembly isn't moving at all. I think it's stuck wide open, to be honest. This assembly has to be down here, I'm assuming. Let me figure out what the hell I'm looking at, and I'll come back to you guys. Alrighty guys, so a lot has happened since we've looked at this quad last. So we took our carb out, freed up our throttle here. That's working perfect in there. And we opened up the bowl to inspect that. It was actually super clean in there, which was surprising. My dad got me this brand new spark plug. And so I had this in there, and I tried firing it up with this and some gas in the cylinder. And it's like it wants to start, but it almost can't. So I also tried dumping gasoline in this little hose here, which I hooked up to the carb. I sprayed starting fluid and tried turning it over that way. Couldn't get anything. Put more gas in the cylinder. Still couldn't get anything. So I compression tested it again. And I think it was a little higher than that, actually. Let's see if I can get a higher reading. Key's not on. There it is. Tops out at 75. So that's not enough compression to start this thing. So now it could be one of two things. This motor is either, I'm not going to say toast, but it needs rings, piston rings. Probably could get away with just doing rings. Or one of our valves is too tight or too loose and the compression's like escaping. I'm not really sure how valves work, to be honest, so I need an education on valves. But anyways, I have had a bike before that, like I said, the valves were too tight and it caused it to have low compression. I think it was the exhaust valve. So that could be our problem here. The only way to find out is doing what I'm about to do, which is putting oil in the cylinder. So if you put oil in the cylinder, the compression level should rise a great deal because the oil is the oil is sealing like that gap around the rings, so making your compression go up quite a bit. So let's see if our compression rating goes up. I would say that's bad because I would rather it be a valve is too tight or too loose, and maybe we could just adjust that than dig into the top end on this thing, which would be rings. Even rings aren't expensive, but at that point you might as well do a piston. And I mean, it's not a job that's like impossible, but it's definitely a more time-consuming job than just adjusting the valves here. Let's see, where are valve covers on this thing? I don't see them. Maybe, is this the valve covers? I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to look into this engine a little bit further. Maybe do some research tonight. And but I want to test that oil in the cylinder method first and see if our compression rises. So you guys saw it's like 75. Okay, so it won't rise any more than that. That is what we're gonna get right there. 70 psi or so. Actually, it's almost down to 60, so I don't know. Somewhere in that range. Now I want to show you guys what happens when we dump gas in this cylinder beforehand. What happens when we dump gas in this cylinder. So I have a little bit of gas here and a nice clean cup. Oop, just got half of it on the ground, so let me go get a tiny bit more. That's quite a bit. Okie, now we get our spark plug. Alright, she's nice and tight. Put our coil on. Popped in. Alright, let's see.